Well, almost everything we pick up these days talks about achievement gaps. We have some sense that some kids need to catch up to other kids. And I've argued that what happens is that the kids who are on the top are not somewhere waiting for people to catch up. What I think we have is actually an education debt. And if we can push the economic metaphor a little further, when we talk about achievement gaps, it's like talking about the year-to-year budget deficit, that the budget wasn't balanced this year, and so we have a deficit. Even when we produce a balanced budget, that is, we get the test scores to look as if people are achieving, what we're forgetting is that we have a whole mountain of debt, that is, year after year after year of deficit, that hasn't been attended to, and that creates, quote, the national debt. I think we have an education debt. So we've had year after year of lack of funding, inequitable funding, year after year of poor health services, year after year of people being left out of the political process. And that accumulation has created this debt that we now have. The other reason why I like to use the term education debt as opposed to achievement gap is because I think that the debt language holds us all accountable. When we talk about the gap, we say, well, those kids, those schools, those teachers. When we talk about national debt, we all ask, okay, what's my part of this? How much do I owe? So education debt then throws it back on all of us, in which we say, what should I be doing? What's my part in creating this? For me, a great principal is a person who understands his or her role in the system. Principals have the responsibility of looking both in on the system and out on the system. What do I mean by that? They have to lead the teachers. That's their primary responsibility. And I think we want to sometimes leave that out. But a principal can't teach 2,200 kids. Nobody can. But a principal can teach 200 teachers. But that principal also has to be able to look out on the system, into the community. They are the face of the institution. So unless principals understand that their primary responsibility is not as a building manager, but as an instructional leader, because that's the main enterprise, is an intellectual one. So good principals have a laser-like focus on instruction, because that's the thing we actually paid to do. We do a lot of other things, so don't get me wrong. We have sports, we have other kinds of co-curricular activities. I don't say extracurricular, because I don't think they're extra. I don't think the band is extra. I think the band is central. But in order of priority, it's the intellectual work. And so the principal must be an instructional leader, must be a learner, him or herself, must be a teacher, him or herself. But the level at which that person is teaching is at the adult level. The principal has adult education responsibilities, teaching staff, teaching faculty, teaching parents, teaching community members. So a good principal is indeed a good instructional leader, that is a good teacher of teachers. So what communities can do to help address this notion of education debt is linked to some things that I've talked about with the business community in Milwaukee. And I can tell you that this was not a particularly friendly audience. Milwaukee is one of the few voucher systems that kids can request a voucher and leave the public system. And the business community has been strong supporters of this. So I had a talk with the Milwaukee Business Roundtable, and I said to them, we need to stop making invidious comparisons between public education and private education. They have some similar missions, but they really are constituted too differently to make one-on-one comparisons. If you wanted to compare public education, you needed to compare public K-12 education with public higher education. Why is it that everybody hates K-12 education and they love public higher education? I mean, my entire state loves the University of Wisconsin. So if we looked at what were some of the things that makes a great public higher education system and figured out how we might do those in the public K-12 system, I think we'd improve it. So here are some features of public higher education. It has multiple funding streams. The money doesn't just come from the state. In fact, in Wisconsin, that's a decreasing share. It comes from federal governments, it comes from private foundations, it comes from individual donors. We literally look everywhere for money. And because we have all those different funding streams, we have multiple accountability systems. You know, if I'm a donor, a wealthy donor, and I've given you $1.2 million, I want to know what happened. And you need to be accountable to me. The other thing that public higher education has is it has strong co-curricular programs. If we don't have a band at Wisconsin, we don't have anything. I mean, we're known for this great band, and so that draws not just the students who are there, but the community. When that football team goes to a bowl game, the first question that people ask is, when is the band playing? So the band is all over Orlando or Disney World or wherever we happen to be, representing the university. So these co-curricular programs are even more crucial for K-12 because the kids don't initially start out with this intellectual focus. What draws a fifth grader to school is not learning how to do long division. It's, can I be in the glee club? Can I be on the flag football team? The third thing that public higher education has that K-12 education doesn't have is a strong alumni support. And we need to do a much better job at all levels, elementary, middle, and high school, in cultivating our alumni. I always say, you know, what would happen if everybody sent one children's book back to their elementary school every year? What kind? We wouldn't have room enough for the libraries that we needed. So those three things, the multiple funding streams, strong co-curricular programming, and strong alumni, and that's where the community comes in, can do a great deal in helping to improve our program.